kind of workshopping, not definite, and it's a work in progress, basically. And it's interesting when you type it in and Google it, you come up with things like The Dark Knight, Matrix, Eternal Sun. This is a list I got on the internet. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Pulp Fiction, Get Out. And I'm like, yes, that's an interesting list, and there's a lot to talk about there. But I'm not sure if that's exactly what I'm kind of going for. And my go-to list that I've started on is 2001: Space Odyssey for science fiction. I think that really, it's almost like, and then I'm still working on the actual definition of this. How do you define a film that transcends a genre? So, it's something I was bouncing off with some of my fellow filmmakers and stuff, and some friends, and we said like, it's poetic, it seems to elevate and almost become, a higher art form than what it is in that genre, because a genre film has rules, and pretty much when you go to a film, you go to a war film, you go to a Western film, these certain things you're expecting or certain rules they follow, and then these films actually have taken all that and have elevated. Is there anything that comes off your mind?
Well, I said, your own Western.
Well,
that comes in, and you have what you expect from the genre.
right.
Again, you come out of it and you see the genre completely different. Because beforehand, in like these Italian westerns, you have this idea of like the clean cowboy who comes in and fits a moral, fits in a certain type. And then after these films come out, you completely reinvent what the genre is, and now there's an amorality to what the West is. So reinterpretation, and you're using that to like reinterpret not only what the Western is, but what the actual history was of America.
Right. I'm glad it's interesting you brought that up, because Once Upon a Time in the West is on my list. That's my go-to, because it's more than the Men with No Name trilogy is one thing. I think, and I was going to talk about, I was going to ask for the audience if what they could see in this room from the future, what other subject matters you'd like to tackle. Because this room is open to anything and everything, and not just science fiction, fantasy, and horror. You can get that from all the other rooms in here in the hallway. But one of the suggestions I had was what genre films set the genre on a different course. And certainly, this was ours, war to get back and really set a whole new course and a whole new direction of Westerns. And I think those three set a new direction. And then we did Once Upon a Time in the West, which also ties into another panel I'm doing this weekend. He had a blank check and could do anything he wanted with it. So he actually elevated, he actually was able to do what he wanted to do. You could say it's our best hits of all kinds of Westerns. But it also, I think it goes into almost a poetic elevation, like the whole opening sequence, it just goes on forever, and how slow that is. That's pure cinema. That's like cinema at a high degree. So that's what I had, 2001, Once Upon a Time in the West. Are you familiar with Jacques Tati, the French comedian? He's an interesting filmmaker that is almost like the bridge between the sound comedians of Keaton and Chaplin and Harold Lloyd and the sound films that have Jerry Lewis, and all the modern guys. His films kind of continue a tradition of the sound era, and they just have gibberish, and they really don't have a true audio dialogue track. So anyway, he came up with a character called Mr. Hulo. And he's kind of like Inspector Clouseau. He's always causing chaos wherever he goes, and he's clueless that he's doing that. Much more gentle. Clouseau gets a little kind of crazy at times in the Pink Panther films. So anyway, he did Mr. Hulo's Holiday. And then he did a movie called My Uncle, which won the Oscar for the best foreign film that year. And then in '67, he does a movie called Playtime. And it's this huge, long epic. And he built this almost small city outside of Paris. And Mr. Hulu is almost like a supporting character in it. He's not even the focal point anymore. And he kind of comes and goes in the film. And it's almost like a comedy on the level of a 2001. And then I've seen people watch it, they go, it's not funny. But it's like, it is, but it's kind of an acquired taste and a kind of an artsy, fartsy level. And so those are my main three. And then I thought, thinking of science fiction, I thought, oh gosh, an obvious one, especially if you watch the long version, is Metropolis, the 1927 one. Because I think if you watch that long version, it's like, gosh, this is not even science fiction anymore. It's more about social issues and the class systems and the workers, and just it's an unbelievable. The robot and the science fiction elements are almost as a supporting character in the film in a way, in a strange, interesting way. So that's what I'm getting at. So
I mean, anything by Schubert is going to change.
Well, yeah,
because he when he makes his films, he doesn't know what he's making.
Yeah.
He constantly is trying to we was making 2001. He just had to do dialogue because he wants to make a new kind of film every time.
Right. Well, I have The Shining. So I bounced this off a lot of people when I was trying to come up with this list. Still working on the definition. The Shining is on here as a horror film because that's another one that kind of subverts the rules and it also plays with a whole different subject matter in a way. The troubled parent, the troubled father, he's sort of alcoholic, or because there's some indication that he was, beating up on his wife a little bit, and things and it just, and that whole ending, and it doesn't really do the usual things you expect out of a horror film. You go in expecting a horror film in a way.
Well, I mean, there's two ways to look at transformative. Okay?
Yeah.
One is how it changes the film afterward, and one is how it actually just transcends what it is. You look at something like Doctor No, when it comes out. Up to that time, a hero, a male personification of a hero was a tough guy. He'd punch you in the face, you'd punch him in the face, and he would punch harder than he could take a punch. But
Well, first of all, he's got a license to do what he that's an interesting concept. He actually is sanctioned by the government to kill.
He's sanctioned by the government, but he's also core in his violence. We've not really seen up to 1962 a hero who is he's not tough and brooding. He's cool about what he does. Every movie that comes after that, that entire Bond knockoff, and really every movie after now, we are given the cool hero.
Yeah.
We take a hero, and you see another thing like this. It's one thing in Asia, but the first time we get to see it is in Enter the Dragon, in which we are given a fighter, action, heroic figure who basically no one lays a hand on. And instead he is stylish. He carols stylistically. And it's 1973, a lot of things are happening at the time, between the two Godfathers and we're with The Exorcist and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming. But no one ever seen anything like that in the States before.
Right. It's interesting. You talk about basically Clint Eastwood, The Man with No Name, and James Bond. We ushered in the whole anti-hero that we never had. Everything usually basically was black and white. There are some slight precedents before that started playing with it a little bit more. The Anthony Mann westerns and the Bud Vedeker westerns, but they're still kind of pretty much white hat, black hat. But then you get in with Bond and you get The Man with No Name, and then all bets are off and changes. So anyway, the list. What else I have on this list? I'll rattle them off and see if you think I'm in the right direction on. Apocalypse Now for war films. Bull Durham for a sports film. because I don't think we even hardly see any sports action at all in Bull Durham. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm trying, because I remember a couple scenes from it.
There's some scenes in the field and stuff, but mostly it's about sexual politics.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about a movie about the genre that is not about the genre, Moneyball.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean that is a film that is, what is that? Got money film? It's got a sports film? But it also changed not only how we look at sports and film, but how we look at sports generally.
Yeah. One other one I forgot to think, I forgot that I have a go-to, an easy one, is The Dark Knight as for superhero movies.
Yeah.
That seems to be on a whole different level than all the rest of them, Christopher Nolan, the middle one of the trilogy. Yeah. It just seems to really just be it opens up like a Michael Mann film in the bank robbery sequence. And then it goes, from there it's crazy. Animation, how about Fantasia? In terms of an animation. And then one of my friends said Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I go, yeah, but it's, hey Bill. And then I got another sports one, Field of Dreams. Big audience here. So I told Suzanne, I go, what if nobody shows up? I can leave after 15 minutes. So yeah.
Well, I had to go.
Oh, you didn't need to be. Were you planning to be here?
Yes, I was supposed to be subbing for tomorrow.
Well, for the Bagoo, it hasn't started yet.
Oh,
you're early.
I thought it said 5:30.
No, you're 6 o'clock. You're good.
Okay,
You're good. Yeah,
What are we talking about?
Films that transcend their genre.
Okay.
He's up here on my next panel at 6 o'clock.
I get confused.
I'll tell you a film that transcended genre that came. Okay, one of the films that definitely is the film Dawn of the Dead. It came out in 1978. That changed horror. Nobody.
Well, what do you think about? Well, what would you think about Night of the Living Dead?
I mean, Night of the Living Dead is kind of like it is kind of you mixing the genre up, but you also didn't have a ton of movies that came out after. Okay, but someone like me who's like, they go see the movie, they're 13 years old, and when that shotgun blast hit that guy's head in the beginning of it, just like, what the fuck am I watching here? and I came out of the film pretty much inoculated against film violence for the rest of my life. Yeah. I mean, and before I went to go see that film, I'm just talking about me personally, I actually kind of believed like this may be too shocking for you. This may be, we'll give you a life insurance policy here. And I came out and I was like, no, I can see anything. I can, and the idea that like we show it to you explicitly. And Cronenberg is the guy who comes in, and Cronenberg flips horror on its back because everything's not in the dark. Cronenberg is like, let's turn the light on. What's that little skin lesion you got there? Let's look really close at it there. Yeah. And those are things people are really scared of. They're really scared of one. What is that cancer? What is that thing? What's going on there? So when people came in and say, yes, this is horror, but we're going to do horror about things that really scare people.
So anyway, I'm kind of just, this is, I didn't think I'd have a full hour here because I was talking about the panel room track the whole weekend. Kind of talk about what we're expecting out of it, and then I'm going to. I thought, well, this is more a work in progress. I'm still working on films that not greatest hits, right. Not just taking and
change.
And that's a different subject that sets it on a different course. Ones that transcend, they're almost like beyond cinema.
I have two.
Okay.
2001.
That's right. I got that.
Godzilla -1.
Ooh, okay, I'll write that down.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Oh, wow. It's like, that's what monster movies should be.
Yeah. So Yeah, so I'll start back over real quick because I was going running through the list. And what's your name, sir?
Walt.
Walt? Okay. 2001, Apocalypse Now. And these are just, and this is not depth, I'm just, Bull Durham, for sports.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight. Fantasia. Field of Dreams. Buster Keaton's The General. Because what do you,
It changed style of the movie.
yeah,
For 3 weeks.
you played.
Um,
A Hard Day's Night. For musicals. Remember, I like the way Andrew Sarris called it, the jukebox of musicals. The Citizen Kane of jukebox musicals. That's what he called it. How about Heat? Michael Mann's Heat with De Niro.
I think he's overrated. I mean, I watched
Okay,
it
no, that's fair.
years ago, and it was like, I don't see what all the
Well, I was let down by it when I first saw it.
but I'll tell you, it seems to me what you're really saying here is not so much movies, but here are like Sergio Leone. He comes in and he makes
yeah.
Sergio Leone. You have, people don't really recognize how influential and how transcendent
Yeah.
John Woo is.
Oh, well.
His Better Tomorrow. I saw Better Tomorrow too, and it is one of the three most. I changed completely the way I look at movies.
Okay, so the question is, since this $4 and all that,
Yeah.
that changed it, but does it count that he was using it from
Yojimbo.
Yojimbo?
Yeah. It's a remake of Yojimbo.
Well, I mean, everything's a remake.
Well, yeah. Well, let me finish the list and I'll go back. We actually tackled the Leone films already. Metropolis, Once Upon a Time in the West, because I think we were talking about how the trilogy kind of set the genre in a new direction. Mm-hmm. But Once Upon a Time in the West is almost like a different plateau, in a way. Parasite. And that's, I think, what even genre is that? Playtime, Jacques Tati's Playtime is for comedy. Then The Shining, we talked about The Shining before. And then The Thin Red Line, or World War II film. That's Tim's animated DC universe. This is the Justice League Unlimited, and how they all interconnect.
Not for movies, but for just television shows. They were really true to the DC.
Yes, that's right.
They didn't make it silly. They didn't make it too much over the heads of the 12 to 15.
And all ages too.
Yeah.
It can appeal to kids and adults. Chaplin versus Keaton. This is my really obsession, the cinema of Bob Dylan.
What?
Bob Dylan.
Was he in a movie?
Yeah, well, he's in fact Eric Ability Kid,
okay.
playing a character called Alias, but he directed a film. It would be,
Shouldn't you do Keaton versus Boyd?
we could, I easily could do that. I didn't include Lloyd, but yeah, you could mix and match all of that, on and on. Constructing your own Criterion collection. If you were in charge of Criterion, at least what would you number? A critical examination of critics. Like we talk about critics that we hate and we love. Director-actor duos.
Yes.
That's a fun one, because Scorsese and De Niro, Scorsese and DiCaprio,
Yes.
John Ford and John Wayne. You just go on and on.
I thought you were talking about where the actor would become the director.
Well, no, that's another one. That would go easily. That's why I was
got
going
a few of those that worked out very well.
Yeah, I was going to write down suggestions. I'm going to write down, and I wanted people to submit suggestions if I had an audience here. Director stock companies. If you watch enough films by directors, you notice they're using the same people over and over again. They call those stock companies. No.
Well, that was before, it was after rather, when you did have a stock, it was the filmmakers that you had.
Yeah.
So like Paramount had a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
I don't recognize that guy. What's his name? No, they didn't give me credit, but they're
Yeah, you could do director stock company, or you could do studio stock company.
Yeah.
The studio stable.
Yes.
Yeah,
So Leone has a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
For a while, it was Clint Eastwood.
Diving into dystopian movies. Here you go. The evolution of David Cronenberg's body of work. Little play on words there.
You know the thing about that scariest thing about Cronenberg, is that Cronenberg's the Cronenberg film that is the most Cronenberg is not David Cronenberg.
The stock racing.
No. I mean the stock racing, the stock racing one is no. The most Cronenberg filmmaker is Ryan Cronenberg.
Well, Brandon is
Brandon. His son. First off, Cronenberg made a kid, which is just I don't know how that happened.
Like in the real world somewhere?
I mean, he's got a daughter too.
I don't know. But two, that kid is more Cronenberg-y than David Cronenberg.
Oh yeah.
Okay, it is.
Have you seen Brandon's films?
No, I haven't seen any of it.
Oh my God, Antiviral is like one is hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, and two, Possessor is like holy shit.
Really cool. And then the third one, what was the third
I have
one?
not seen
Yeah,
it.
that's even weirder.
Yeah.
They go to a resort and things happen and the premise is great. It's totally outrageous. You're gonna love it. You need to see that.
By the way, like we're talking about directors who transcend the genre, you gotta put Russ Meyer on that list.
Yeah, actually,
Yes, because he went so far, he had to give an R rating.
I mean, his films are good.
Yeah.
I mean, considering the genre that it's in.
And there's a lot of sarcasm.
Yeah.
And, biting the hand that's feeding him.
I mean, almost all the films that you're talking about have this strong directorial ending, in which you can tell watching a film after about a minute or two. If you didn't know, you would know. Oh, okay, this is a Scorsese film. Oh, this is a Tarantino film. Oh, this is a Kubrick film.
Mm-hmm. Cronenberg would be a great film to do. I was on Dr. Mabuza. The box set just came out. Have you seen that box set?
I have at least 2 or 3 of the actual movies, but I don't with the box one.
Yeah, the box one is those little cheap B ones that were done after Chris Lane didn't stop doing.
Oh.
Yeah, they're interesting. Films that set a genre in a new direction. Films smothered by their directors. I get it. Some people are going, what's that mean? That's basically one of my big examples of that would be Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yeah.
He loved it so much. He's so close to it. It's a watchable film. It's entertaining, but there's something is lacking.
It's a fantastic 90-minute movie, just crafting his 3.5-hour sludge fest.
You have to sympathize with Kong at some point.
Yeah.
And I don't
There you go. That's a good point. So, that would be, so you're going to be on that panel when I do.
Yeah, when you're all these airplanes, even if they're biplanes, flying around you, like, what can I do now? I'm a fish out of water, a gorilla out of Africa, so.
And I'm scared that I'm thinking, I'm a little, hopefully, I'm hoping he proves me wrong. I'm a little scared of Deterro doing Frankenstein. They might have to with that one. I'm hoping not. It comes out into the end of the year, so. Because he's so obsessive and he loves, anything and everything about Frankenstein he loves, so, Then I got some, these are obvious ones, you could do this, we could do this all weekend. The films of Brian De Palma, the films of Ken Russell. Here's one that nobody knows about, I would love to spotlight, the films of Victor Nunez. The films of Walter Hill. Goonie over the Goons. You know who the Goons are?
Oh, the Goons from
the 50s BBC.
50s and 60s.
Yes.
Because they had radio and then television.
With Richard Lester behind the scenes on that. They were, have you ever heard of the Goons?
No.
And Peter Sellers, Spike Milligan, and another Harrison Cohn, the basic three. Seacombe. And they were,
was you there?
And they're just silly. It was the weirdest little crazy thing, and it's what started Peter Sellers on becoming a superstar. And you think of Britain in the 50s, they're recovering from the war, it's black and white, everything's dour. And these guys came along and were just out of their minds. Python comes from them.
That's what I was about to say. They were fed out of this.
There's a blueprint, there's a foundation for what we end up, everybody knows Python, but it really goes back to the goons.
The goons. Well, that's because we don't have the videos, because back in the
Yeah.
50s, BBC wasn't keeping any
I know.
videos, so they would just play them over, you know?
Grumpy, here's another one, grumpy old pill critics. Because most of the major
I
critics.
resemble that.
Guilty Pleasures, which is, you know, the easy one. History of the comic book superhero movie, that's just a pet peeve of mine. Imperial phases of film directors. I've come across this new term, imperial phases. It's when, they came out of talking about when a musician has like 2 or 3 records that are popular and they make money, or a commercial and they're popular and they're very high art.
And then they go to artistic.
Yeah, and then, where it hits the sweet spot across the board, but then they fall, either they get too arty, or they do a really bad record, or
Villain.
self-portrait. You can do that with movie directors, you know, because you got movie directors like, oh, that's a good one, that's a good one, and then all of a sudden he falls flat on the stage.
Walter Hill in the 70s.
Yeah, well, like, Rob Reiner, he started out really strong, and then he does a movie called North, and it just totally tanked, you know, is John Carpenter really that good?
Was, at least.
Is Sam Peckinpah really that bloody? Because I have films that are not bloody. Yeah, he is. Gene Simmons, an appreciation, the female Gene Simmons, not Gene Simmons of Kiss, but Gene Simmons of Elder Gantry, the Big Country.
Oh.
I like her a lot. The Laserdisc legacy.
I have several.
Yeah, I have more than several.
I have probably 60 or 70. I have
I'm with you.
Fantasia.
Yeah.
Uncut. You know what?
Yeah. The Many Lives of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, that's the movie that Dylan Peckinpah directed.
Oh, okay.
And it has about, you get the Criterion box set, there's like 1, 2, at least 3 different versions of the film on there. The Masterful Merchant and Ivory Productions, if anybody would get to that. I don't know.
That's definitely for Brit fans.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, British stuff does not sit well in, mostly with these kind of films that we usually are, because they're more cerebral and cheaper.
And one reason I brought this stuff up is last year, they had 2 directors here, and then one ended up not making it, but Suzanne, who helped run the convention, and one of the guys has directed these, you know, these really cheesy popular Christmas films now.
Yeah.
And Hallmark and Lifetime, and they're actually becoming its own genre now.
Yeah.
They did a panel last year here, and it was standing room only, and it was the most popular panel of all. And so I thought, well, what else? What's something like that? It's way out of the box in terms
Okay,
of.
so I want to bring up the name of a fairly unknown director that I've met, and actually in one of his movies for about 2 seconds, Fred Olen Ray. You know what he's doing now?
He's doing some of those, aren't they?
He's doing Hallmark.
Yeah.
Mysteries and, you know, Christmas.
You gotta pay the bills.
Exactly. It says, you know, I've seen enough movies.
Yeah.
Fred Olen Ray is the most boring exploitation.
Which one?
You say Fred Olen Ray is the most boring.
Yeah, when I get to a movie,
He was
I got to
cheap.
a movie in time and I say Fred, I mean, you can be cheap and you can blood is cheap, okay? Nudity is cheap, action is cheap, but his films are just, you know, the 80s films that went straight to video, that was made in studios with like almost no budget, and had just this amount of exploitation in it, so they can say it's exploitation, like the Full Moon production stuff. I mean, that's all directly from Fred Olen Ray.
Yeah.
His
Of course,
movies,
Of course, the funny thing about the Full Moon and Fred Olen Ray, and there's the other guy I always put with I can't think of his name. Yeah, they're all, but there's a fan base for all of them. Movies that are MIA, missing in action. Of course, one After Midnight, the launch ADS, everybody talks about that. Movies that shouldn't have a sequel.
Well, I can name a few.
Yeah. Nichols or May? Are you like, do you prefer Mike Nichols, or do you prefer Elaine May, even though they were a duo originally,
Yes.
you know, and then they became filmmakers?
Were they not married to each other?
No, they never married, no, they were never, and they,
Didn't know that.
our favorite romance movies, that would be another one. Overlooked and hidden cinematic treasures, that would be, you know, whoever was on the panel, which is to pick what they were.
Really obscure.
Yeah. Paul Schrader, cinema's lonely man. Because a lot of his films deal with the lonely man that Travis Bickle, a taxi driver. He didn't direct that, he wrote it, but he comes back to that over and over again, just like David Cronenberg with Body Horror. You know, that's his big subject matter.
Hardcore.
Yeah, hardcore, yeah. The poetry of Terrence Malick, you know, how poetic, he's really trying to push that envelope. Steven Soderbergh, genre disruptor. You ever watch Soderbergh films? He's always, if he does a genre film, he's always messing with it. You know, it's kind of in a smarty pants way. The 60s film Spy Craze, that's if you have any fun. Iron Flynn, you know, Van Helm, that's everything that came out of Bond. Searching for Leslie Stevens. Leslie Stevens was behind the TV series Search.
Yeah.
Steve Search. The strange continuity of the Pink Panther and Inspector Clouseau franchise. I love to talk about that because it's just a crazy.
Well, it started off as basically the
cartoon had nothing to do with it, you know.
Not the cartoon.
It's a gym, you know.
Yeah, but it was a fun movie, and then it started getting silly.
Yeah.
You know, and it was wonderful silly, but it wasn't what the first movie promised us.
But I think Shot in the Dark's the best one, and it didn't have Pink Panther at the time.
Yes.
Streaming, the end of cinema.
So far not.
Yeah, talking about silent films. To alter or not to alter? Alter, you know, the alter theory?
Yeah.
I thought that was a huge thing.
It's growing.
Yeah.